The beginning of the movie shows a bus carrying prisoners. One by one the prisoners introduce their names. Then the main character in this film introduces his name. His name is Riki. The reason Riki went to jail was because he killed someone who wanted to rape his girlfriend and caused his girlfriend to die. But when they want to enter, suddenly the detector sounds and makes the wardens confused. Why did the alarm go off when Riki didn't have anything on his body? When checked again, it turned out that there were several bullets lodged in his body. When the warden asked why he didn't remove the bullet from his body, Riki then replied that it was for memory. The next morning, when an old man was brushing his teeth, suddenly he was visited by a big man named Samuel. And he immediately slammed the old man, even though the old man would be free in a few days. But the other inmates beat him frequently. But suddenly Riki appeared and nudged Samuel and made Samuel fall. His men who wanted to hit Riki immediately discouraged him when he saw Riki's face, which was very angry at their behavior earlier. Long story short, the old man was not released by the guards at the prison because if he wanted to be free, he had to get permission from the inmates in charge of the prison. Out of frustration, he also ended his life. Riki, who saw the old man, was very sad about his death. The next day, when Riki was taking a shower, suddenly a big prisoner hit him and made Riki bounce. It turns out that the man was ordered by Samuel to kill Riki. Then Riki replied with one punch and made a hole in the stomach of that person and died instantly. It turns out that Riki has had super strength since childhood, so he can easily fight the man. Then Riki was approached by a man who seemed quite strong, that man named Oscar. Oscar told Riki that he must submit to him and not to make trouble. Because of the incident earlier, Riki was then taken to the assistant head warden's room named Weasel to get punishment. Weasel also takes some info from Riki and also a photo of Riki's deceased girlfriend. When Riki wanted to take the photo, suddenly Riki's hand was hacked with his pirate's hand. He was also beaten several times by a weasel. Riki immediately remembered the face of his girlfriend and went berserk in that place. But Riki did not want to kill him and took back the photo of his lover. Not only good at martial arts, Riki is also great at playing the flute because Riki used to be a music student. When he played the flute, he then remembered the good times he had with his girlfriend. The next day, Weasel orders Oscar to kill Riki. But on the other hand, after Samuel's death, Samuel's men named Rocky were almost killed by other convicts to avenge them on Rocky. And here Andrew is very ambitious to kill Rocky. Then Oscar came and said that it was he who had the right to punish the convicts in the northern sector. Because he resisted, Oscar then killed Andrew in front of the other inmates as an example so that no one else would dare to fight him. Then Oscar takes the convict to the field with the aim of luring Riki to save him. And sure enough, then came Riki to meet Oscar. The fight then happened, but Riki didn't want to reply. Riki asked Oscar to let Andrew go first. Because Oscar didn't want Riki finally fought him. But Oscar played unfairly and took out a knife. He then managed to hurt Riki's eye and paralyzed Riki's hand with the knife. When he fell, Riki accidentally found a water source, then he broke it. He then immediately cleaned his eyes. And with just one punch, Oscar's eyeballs popped out and Oscar was killed. The inmates who are angry at Oscar's actions try to attack the weasels, but suddenly three strongest people who lead the sector appear. The first is Logan, the leader from the western sector, then Tarzan, the chairman from the east sector, and the last is the dragon from the south sector. But Riki asked the other inmates to stop and immediately carried the body. After Oscar's death, his assistant named Shinji is now alone. To fill his loneliness, he tries to imitate Riki's habit, namely playing music with a leaf. Riki, who saw him, was trying to teach Shinji, but how shocked Riki was when he saw Shinji's tongue that had been cut off. Then Riki gave Shinji his flute so that Shinji could still play music. And that made Shinji very happy for Riki's gift. Shinji then gave Riki a poppy flower. The flower is a forbidden plant like marijuana. Riki was very surprised that there were flowers like that in prison. On the other hand, Logan watches them both from the shadows. Then Shinji was summoned by three rulers to be punished because he had leaked the secrets of the opium fields to Riki. But if he doesn't want to be punished, Shinji has to kill Riki. But at that time Shinji didn't want to, so Shinji was tortured until Shinji died. Riki, who saw Shinji's face, was sad and at the same time angry at the person who killed Shinji. Then Riki set fire to the poppy fields in the western sector, and that made the Logan of the Lord of the Western Sector very angry. And a fight ensued. In the middle of the fight, Dragon comes to help Logan. When Riki wanted to be finished off by Metal and Dragon, then Tarzan came then took Riki away on the grounds that he wanted to have a one-on-one duel with Riki. Before Riki was killed, here Tarzan took Riki to a room and they then dueled in that place. Suddenly the wall broke down and there was a lot of liquid cement, so Riki and Tarzan drowned in the cement. This was done to kill Riki. Fortunately, Riki was able to escape while saving Tarzan. But the effort was stopped because the cement that covered Riki immediately hardened and made him unable to move anymore. Long story short, the chief warden came with his son. And when his son wanted to run, he accidentally fell. The chief warden then asked who was the person who put the carpet. Because it made the person who prepared the carpet lose his eyes. Then the weasel told the chief warden about the poppy fields, that the fields had been destroyed. The head of the warden, who knew about it, immediately had a heart attack. He immediately took the medicine. Then the chief warden immediately met Riki. It was seen that Riki was being held in a cell with his hands chained. Then when the chief warden wanted to approach him, Riki suddenly woke up and immediately grabbed the chief warden. Suddenly came Tarzan to beat Riki, but Riki can beat Tarzan. Then suddenly the roof made of iron which was very heavy fell, but the chief warden shocked him with 100,000 volts of electricity. Riki then fainted. When the iron was about to fall on Riki, Tarzan suddenly got up and held it so that Riki could escape. Maybe Tarzan wants to repay Riki's previous kindness and is fed up with following the chief warden's orders. At first glance Riki wanted to save Tarzan, but it was all in vain, and finally Tarzan died on the spot. And Riki was very angry and immediately wanted to attack the chief warden, but unfortunately Riki was electrocuted so that he fainted. When Riki realized it was already in a field. And Riki will be buried alive, and if Riki can last 7 days the chief warden will release him. Then the chief warden ordered the inmates there to bury Riki in turn, but the inmates refused and did not want to do it. Instantly the people who refused were eventually shot on the spot and the other prisoners couldn't do much. Like it or not, the convicts finally took turns burying Riki. Day after day Riki is still underground. And every night the sound of Riki's flute indicates that Riki is still alive. Long story short, 7 days have passed. Now is the time for Riki to come out, and sure enough Riki is still alive. But the chief warden broke his promise, and Riki was still detained and also tortured. After many things he went through, now Riki is very weak. Then there was one inmate who paid attention to him. He came and brought Riki some food. The prisoner's name was Freddy. But its action is known Rocky, as a result Freddy was caught and killed. When Weasel and Rocky wanted to check Riki's room, he saw that there was no Riki in it. It turned out that Riki was on the roof, and he immediately killed Rocky and beat the Weasel so that Riki could be free. Then there was a riot in the detention cell to fight against the chief warden's cruelty. Riki also helped them and beat the wardens. Long story short, Riki finally met the chief warden. Without further ado, the head warden immediately killed the Weasel because according to him he was no longer useful. At the same time came Logan and Dragon, but they were both defeated by Riki. And left the chief warden and Riki, and there was a fight. Unexpectedly it turned out that the chief warden had super strength and could change his body to become bigger, and Riki was immediately overwhelmed. But because of his ingenuity, Riki was finally able to beat the chief warden and put him in a meat grinder. So the chief warden died. After that Riki came out and hit a big wall with his hand. Instantly the wall collapsed and finally Riki was able to get out of the prison. And the movie is over. Thank you for watching. Look forward to the next video.